So the last one is the sclerosing type. The class 6 is the sclerosing lupus nephritis. So just one slide regarding treatment. It includes your induction and maintenance phase. You need not to remember this treatment protocols, just main headings. So it includes your immunosuppressives. You need to give adjuvant therapies like hydroxychloroquine. You need to manage their blood pressures, and you need to take, but there are emerging therapies also, which are rituximab and other anti-cytokine therapies. So I'll just skip this lupus nephritis. It involves all those it tells you the immunosuppressive and this MMF which is given in these patients. So this is the American College. It says you need to diagnose your patient, then you need to treat him with induction therapy with MMF or cyclophosphamide. You have to adjunct your patient with hydroxy pressure controls. You need to take care of your proteinuria with the help of AC inhibitors, and these guidelines are for the adults. So coming to another entity which can give rise to acute glomerulonephritis like picture, and the patient can come to your OPD. So this is a scenario of a 6-year-old boy who was brought to the OPD again with the features of nephritis syndrome, hypertensive, oliguria, basal Krebs. And past history was that 3 months back he was labeled as acute post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis on the basis of low complements and borderline ASOT levels. But this time when we examined the child and we investigated him, he was again having an active urine sediment in the form of RBCs, WBCs, and the complements were still low. So this is an entity of persistent low complement levels. Her lupus serology and the GBM serologies were negative. So in the context of this persistent low C3 beyond 12 weeks of the initial illness, you consider other entities of low complements, and the common which turned out in this patient was of that of a membranoproliferative glomerulonephritis, that is MPGN. So a few words about MPGN, membranoproliferative glomerulonephritis. It's also called the mesengiocapillary glomerulonephritis. Again, because of the mesangial enhancement and its invagination into the GBM, leading to the thickening and splitting of the GBM. It's immune mediated. You get the immune deposits in the mesangial proliferative disease and low complement levels. So it's basically divided on the histopathology findings into type 1, type 2 and type 3 MPGN. So the type 1 MPGN, it can be primary or idiopathic, it can be secondary because of the infections, or it can be a dense deposit disease in MPGN type 2. The MPGN type 2 is also called a dense deposit disease. It is usually primary or idiopathic. MPGN type 1 and type 3 are usually secondary, in which the infections or entities like autoimmune can be playing the role. And this table again emphasizes the MPGN type 1, type 2 and type 3, how the light microscopy and how the IMF and the EM shows. And I'll not emphasize more because you have gone through them in your pathology lectures. So this is the diagram or the cartoon which represents your mesangial proliferative glomerulonephritis. So these were the acute post-infective glomerulonephritis in which you had humps in your subepithelial humps. These are type 2 in which you get the deposits within the GBM. This is the type 1 in which you have mesangial proliferation which starts invaginating. Coming to the entity of IgA nephropathy, it is an immune complex mediated. It has variable spectrum of the histopathology changes. You can have mesangial proliferation only, you can have membranous pattern, but the pathognomic are the IgA deposits in the IgA nephropathy. They usually present with gross or microscopic hematuria, recurrent hematuria, and usually mostly followed by respiratory tract infection, the entity which you called as synpharyngitic. Rarely acute renal failure or rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis and a nephrotic range proteinuria can be there. So studies of the patients with IgA nephropathy support the use of AC inhibitors in patients with IgA nephropathy, and very rarely we need to use these immunosuppressive therapies. But yes, when they presents like RPGN, then you need to give steroids and cytotoxic agents. So another entity which resembles IgA nephropathy is a case of a 9 years old girl who was referred to OPD because of the petechial rashes on the legs, joint pain, and a fever which was not documented. She was euvolemic, not in renal failure, and non-blanching petechiae all over the extensor surface of the lower limbs. Her CBCs were normal, her renal functions were normal, and a urine DR which showed a proteinuria which was mild and a microscopic hematuria was documented. So considering her clinical presentation with microscopic hematuria, we made the diagnosis of HSP nephritis. So what is typical regarding henoch-Schonellen purpura? It's the most common vasculitis in children. A common renal manifestation is microscopic hematuria in 80% of the patient, and usually subnephrotic range proteinuria. It resolves in 1 to 3 months. And the typical biopsy resembles very much like IgA nephropathy, that you have IgA deposits. But the difference between HSP and IgA nephropathy is that in IgA nephropathy, you don't have clinical manifestations like these petechial rashes over your extensor surface, while in the extrarenal manifestations are typical in HSP. This algorithm just tells you the management of HSP nephritis. I'll just skip this one. Coming to the last entity of the ANCA mediated vasculitis, so we have the vessels involvement from the very small vessel vasculitis to the large vessel vasculitis. As you know from your basic pathology knowledge, we have Takayasu's and polyarthritis nodosas, but the commonest in which we have these are the small vessel vasculitis in children. So the ANCA vasculitis are the small vessel vasculitis in which the small vessels like arterioles, capillaries, and venules are involved, and they have NCA positive, that is the antibodies against the anti-neutrophil cytoplasmic antibodies. The commonest type are of the anti-proteinase 3, anti-PR3, and anti-MPOs. So this slide, which is the last one among the ANCA vasculitis, so this is the point in which we have immune complex vasculitis, all the vessels in which can lead to acute nephritis. So large vessel vasculitis, medium vessels, they are rare. The small vessel vasculitis, yes, in which we have NCAS positive, and this is your immune complex vasculitis. And the commonest vasculitis among children is the HSP or the henoch-Schonellen purpura nephritis. So with this overview of the acute glomerulonephritis entity, which can be a presentation of the number of infective and non-infective entities and immune-mediated entities. To begin with, infective were the post-streptococcal commonest, immune-mediated were the lupus. You have mesangial proliferative or the mesangiocapillary glomerulonephritis. HSP nephritis can present like this, and IgA nephropathies, they can have manifestations of microscopic hematuria. So just to finish my talk and discussion on this topic is that we need to be alert considering the spectrum of the underlying pathologies which can give rise to acute glomerulonephritis. And I thank you all for your attendance and your attendance for this presentation. I'd be happy to respond to your queries. You can contact me. My number, my email there is with the IT team. So if there are any queries, you can just come back to me. And good luck and thank you all and stay safe.